how long it takes to travel back and forth from the city on 290. So we're learning that. And today on our way here, we started with 55 minutes and then it just kept going up instead of down. Like, why are people out? It's Saturday, go home, hang out with your family. But maybe there was some of you coming here. So I just want to first start by just thanking Ashfaq and his beautiful family for hosting us. Thank you so much for my beautiful flowers. You know, as I think about where we are right now and the moment that we're living, there are places like Washington, D.C., where it is very, very clear how much power, how much money, and sometimes how much blatant racism can really, really control and influence everyday actions. I've been now in Congress, as I mentioned to you, for about 14 months. My parents are both from Guatemala. My mother, my father came in before her, but my mother traveled here, and she traveled in her first trimester, pregnant of me. So I'm a proud daughter of immigrants. And my parents, like many of our own parents, many of our own experiences, when they came here, they looked for a faith community to be part of. And in my parents' case, my father was Catholic and my mother was Pentecostal. And then they found this United Methodist Church. It was like they're halfway. They're, okay, I'm not going to become Pentecostal. I'm not going to become Catholic. So they became United Methodist. And I wanted to share that with you because sometimes people say, thank you for standing on the right side.
Yes.
And I appreciate the thank you, but it is the right thing to do. And it is what my faith compels me to do in this moment and every day. I grew up in a church that was diverse, and in a church that understood that we can't talk about being part of the body if we're okay if our hand is hurting, if we're okay if our leg is not well, that we are all part of it, and we are part of a beloved community. And so, being very active in my church, I started working at the local shelter my church started. And I kept asking questions. Why are people experiencing homelessness? Why is it that you see so many families struggling? Why is it that healthcare is not affordable? I'm asking the questions why. And I grew up in a family, in a working class family, constantly asking the questions why. I then went and I ran a nonprofit, actually, that my church had started. I started there as a mail lady. What's a mail lady? There were about 2,000 people who didn't have a permanent mailing address because they were homeless and they needed a mailing address. I was in charge of their mail. So at about 3 o'clock, my senior year in high school, I would run right after school from the north side of the city to Logan Square to be there by 3:30 because people were waiting for their mail. Some cases, for their benefits, their SNAP benefits. Some cases they were waiting to see if they got a job. They were waiting for mail. This was back in the early 2000s. I started as a mail lady, continued to work, became a caseworker, and then at the age of 21, at the very old age of 21, I was promoted to be the executive director of a small nonprofit, a community-based organization serving about 2,000 people a year. And I continued to do some work with my United Methodist Church from a place of social justice. A lot of churches go, particularly evangelical churches or Christian churches, go to places and they want to go convert people. I never felt that was the role. It was, how are you in service with other people? And I remember that in 2008, I was the executive director at that point for a couple of years, and I got a call from the General Board of Global Ministries of the United Methodist Church, their headquarters in New York City, and they had their race and religion organization in Washington, D.C., just on the other side of the Supreme Court, on the side of the Supreme Court. And they said, for many years, we have been taking a delegation to Palestine and Israel to study what's happening there and what our faith compels us to do. We have someone from the church, from the Methodist Church, who is a missionary in Bethlehem. She's been there now for 3 years, and she leads these trips. And we have to be able to physically see what's happening there to understand how our government is doing what it's doing and how they get away with it. And I'll tell you that growing up in church, you know, people say the Holy Land is the dream to go to the Holy Land to visit. So I said, well, I've heard a little bit about what's happening there, but oftentimes we're not educated on these issues, intentionally. So I said yes. And I had to figure out things of payroll, the organization. And I want to share this with you because for me it's really important for you to understand my why. I was there a little bit under 3 weeks. Janet, I can't remember her last name, led the trip. And in the 3 weeks I was there, right? For those of you, if any of you have ever been to Palestine, to Israel, to the region, you'll know that if you want to go to Ramallah, if you want to go to Bethlehem, if you want to go to Jerusalem, if you want to go through back and forth Tel Aviv, you have to go through security points. Yes. I couldn't believe that there were 67 security points in an area the size of New Jersey. And in Tel Aviv, I didn't realize until day 2 that I was with about 90 people. The majority of them from Iowa, Ohio, majority of them white. And I was the only Latina. Actually, that's why they paid for my trip to go, I think. But, and then there were two African Americans and another Latino with us. That every time these young soldiers would walk into the bus at a security point, they would go straight to the back. And they would look at me. And they would ask me, show me your U.S. passport. Are you a terrorist? And I heard that 25, 30 times the time I was there. And I want you to hear something that's really important for you to understand why this is so important to me. I never felt more afraid for my life than when I was in Tel Aviv. I never felt more at home than when I was in Bethlehem. There is an intentionality of creating fear of the other in this world. And what is happening in this moment has demonstrated to those that were completely unaware of what has been happening to Palestinians, to Muslim people, to Christians in Bethlehem, because there's Christians in Bethlehem, for 75 years. And in some cases, if we really want to talk about it, for far longer than that. And the question, what about Palestinians, always becomes you're anti-Semitic. You're pro-Hamas. Today I'm called part of the Hamas squad, right? So, thank you for thanking me, but you don't have to thank me. This moment where we are right now calls for moral courage. And how people vote, how people speak, and where people stand tell you exactly who they are. You cannot tell me that you care about the issues like housing and be okay with 2 million people being displaced. You can't tell me that you care about children and you're okay that thousands of them are orphans and then more and more of them have died. You can't say that you care about health care, but we're okay with every hospital destroyed or bombed, and we can't even get medical equipment in to help people. What I say to my colleagues is, the issues that you say that are so local and important to you, when you want to ignore what's happening there, they're not that local, and they're all interconnected. All of these issues intersect. And I remember when I was leaving Palestine, and the missionary that was our guide was preparing us to go to the airport. She said, when you go through security, they're going to ask you this question. Make sure you know how to answer it. Well, what question are they asking from a terrorist? They've been asking me that the whole time, at least me. They're going to ask you the name of your bus driver. You know why they ask the name of the bus driver? And when they ask, well, because if you know the name of your bus driver, chances are your bus driver is Muslim, right? Chances are you're Muslim, your bus driver is Palestinian, and chances are if you know his name, you've been in a relationship with him, you've talked to him. And if that's the case, you must be a threat. I mean, this is reality, right? And she said, you want to be careful how you answer. She said, I don't know, he was just driving. I didn't talk to him. Of course I talked to the driver. I talked to him for 3 weeks. When I went through that airport, the very first question, what was the name of your bus driver? Exactly what she said. I got level 5 security, which for anyone that's traveled in that region, you know, there's now I think level 7, level 8, every single level. My honey and everything I had, they went through. They also checked to see what ATMs I had used, and it took a very long time to leave. That is nothing to what people and Palestinians experience every single day. Nothing. But I will tell you that as I was leaving, and I'm sorry that I get a little emotional, I said to Janet, if it weren't because I'm running this organization and I have no one else that can take over, I want you to stay here. I want to fight. And as I was leaving, and the number of us were leaving, they said, you need to go to your Congress and ask them, why do you keep funding this? Let Israelis and Palestinians figure this out without your money that continues to create division, occupation, and death. And so the question was, what will you do when you come back? And Janet said to me, I don't know, Delia, but I have a feeling one day you'll be back here. And I have a feeling this is not the last time that you'll have an opportunity to do something for the Palestinian people. Now, if you would have told me that when I was 26 years old, at the age of 40, I would be a member of Congress, co-leading ceasefire, I would have thought, well, you're crazy, I can't go to Congress. I'm running this nonprofit. But I say that to you to say that I believe that I am here in this moment for such a time as this, and that the work that you are all doing, lifting up our shared humanity, is the most important work that any American can do right now. That we want to see peace, that we want to see justice, and that we understand that the only way we move forward is with an immediate, permanent ceasefire.
Yes.
And a responsibility to ensure we stop sending money without conditions. We put conditions in Latin America for money, there should be conditions to wherever we send money. So I understand that it is a difficult time, and that standing for the right thing means people are going to attack us and call us all sorts of names. I also want you to know that on October, I think 17th, when we introduced the ceasefire resolution, 5 of us co-led, and I think we had about 5 or 6 other people on the resolution, but no one else dared to call for a ceasefire. The fact that the Vice President, just a few days, even said ceasefire, not permanent, but even said ceasefire, is a testament of the work that you are all doing every single day. More people understand what is happening, and that this nuanced excuse that they say, there's no nuance to this or complicated. You either want people to live or you don't want people to live. So there is progress when you see that over 100 members of Congress are calling for a ceasefire in one way or another. And that is because of the work that you are doing every single day. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to be in relationship with you. And thank you for giving me the strength in a place that gaslights people like me every day, so that I can continue to do what is right. Because until we see peace, until we know that this will never happen again, we can't stop fighting. I'll end with saying this. You can't take back the lives that we lost. The lives that we're literally losing right now. Literally losing right now. And that's why we have to make sure that as we talk about a ceasefire, we talk about de-escalation, that people understand that there's a difference between a humanitarian pause, a 6-week ceasefire, and a permanent ceasefire. Which is why when the Senate bill comes before us next week or the following, asking for this aid, I will not be voting for that bill. I won't send not $1 to the Netanyahu government ever again. I'm happy to take questions, any specifics, but I really appreciate you letting me share with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.